Excellent. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother, the long-standing pioneer and believer, student minister Preston Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Joshua. Thank you so much for
Yes, sir.
blessing me and having us back for part two. And I'm just so grateful and honored to be in the studio via Zoom.
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
praise is due to Allah. I'd like to begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. We thank him for his coming. We thank him for raising up in our midst the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted and risen Christ. And we thank them both for blessing us and raising in our midst and giving us and providing us with a divine reminder, Messiah, Comforter, the wonderful example and model of the human being that's going to populate the kingdom of God. And that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'd like to give you and the audience, your audience, once again, the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir, and thank you very much. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And the first part one of the interview, make sure everyone goes back and get a chance to review that. It was great, it was excellent, but we have so much more for you all today. Thank you, everyone who is back. We took a 2-week break, but we're back and we're coming back strong with Student Minister Preston Muhammad. The first question that we have for you, sir, is let's get straight into your time working with the People's Champion, known as the greatest, Muhammad Ali.
Yes,
And
sir.
what was that like working with him, sir?
Well, let me, if I can back up just a minute here, because in part one, I made a mistake in the book that I quoted. I quoted the eyes on the prize that explained the April 27, 1962 police attack on Mosque 27 in Los Angeles. And that was not the name of the book. It was the author is the same, Taylor Branch, but the name of the book is called Pillars of Fire. And so I wanted to correct. We're told to, that the mistake shall not exist in the Nation of Islam. It's not that we won't make them, but we are duty bound to correct them. And if somebody is referring back to part one, I wanted them to be able to have the correct title if they should want to pick up that book and study it. So all praise is due to Allah. But I also wanted to say, my brother, we get right into this, but I thank Allah for you and what you're doing, because I come to bear witness to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I come to bear witness and give a testimony to for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farad Muhammad. I have to do that, and that's on me to do. If we study the 2.0, the teachings 2.0.
Yes, sir.
Right there in volume number 1, we see that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told Brother Jesse, not Brother Jesse now, his name escapes me, that I'm surrounded by too many weak witnesses.
Mm.
I have too many silent witnesses.
Mm, mm, mm.
What are we waiting for? You don't need permission to stand up and bear witness of a man who has saved your life. And I'm saying this is how we want to kick this off, because what you've done, my brother, is establish a platform for all of us in the Nation of Islam that bear witness that there's no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger Messiah, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah in our midst. Anybody that's bearing witness, now we don't expect anybody that really doesn't believe that or doesn't bear witness to that. If you're bearing witness, then you should be, your voice should be heard. Your voice should definitely, we're obligated now to stand up wherever we are and bear witness to the work of these three men. the work of them in the resurrection of the dead. But in particular, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because we did not have a nation to speak of, and he rebuilt it from nothing. And so we all are blessed to be able to drink from this cup. And you are, you are the one that is set up the platform to open it up so that our people can be heard, because that's what we really need to do. We need to be heard. I remember back in the day prior to 75, I believe it was on a Wednesday night, once a month, we had witness bearing night. And it's called what Islam has done for me. And we would, go up and preach and bear witness. And that's where we found so many ministers and captains and lieutenants, because they were filled with the Spirit and they had to bear witness. And this is it's a beautiful thing. So I'm thankful to Allah that we have modern technology and a brother such as yourself. And so we can keep it rolling and keep it in real. The other thing I wanted to say, my brother, in all humility, I read the scriptures. I'm a student of history, and I read the scriptures. And I wanted to bear witness that all I am is a brother trying to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I can tell you for a fact that he is the fulfillment of the establishment of the Levitical priesthood that will live forever. The book says in Exodus and other places that Moses ordered Aaron to take your sons and make them priests. And it'll be a priesthood that will last forever, okay? And so you see the real sons, which you are one, which your father is one. Minister Ishmael is one, and Dr. Wesley, and all of the brothers that you see, Minister Nuri, and Brother Abdul Saeed in Los Angeles, and Halim in Houston. These are all sons of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who are establishing the priesthood. Now, I'm coming from a historical perspective, because I have been blessed to see and become befriended by many of the ministers and captains under prior to 1975. And we don't have, none of us could hold a candle to these mighty giants that the minister has been producing. See, and they have a platform where the people all over the planet are drinking freely from the words of all of these giants, Reza Islam and others that are preaching this word all over the planet now. And so I wanted to say that. So I'm humbled to be here just to bear witness, because these are great men, because they come from under the training of the example of the human being that's set forth by God from the foundation of this world. And I'm just saying, I'm just so thankful just to be able to bear witness. I don't call myself no minister. I just say that I'm a brother, because that is a tremendous title, and I'm very happy to be that. So all praise is due to Allah. So thank you for your work. Now, I wanted to elaborate a little bit, because I had forgotten a lot of the things that my experiences with the champ, as we called him, but he was a wonderful brother. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that he loved the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he said to me, he said, brother, I never would have been a great boxer like I am today if it were not for the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then he elaborated. He said, because he taught me how to think. And by me being able to think, and we being able to think 24 billion miles a second, he could outthink people in the ring. He taught me psychology. He taught me the science. Like I was talking to him about a white boxer. He said a white boxer, they'll never come close to me, because, they grafted and they'll bleed, and he was just a wonderful brother that bore witness to the truth. Now you got all of these people that are trying to repackage him and his presentation, because he ended up in the Orthodox circle, but he never forgot the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He never forgot where he came from. Okay, and so I'm just saying to you that but there's some light moments, and I was amazed. I was with him one day in one of the hotels, and we were sitting somewhere, and he was really teaching, because he loved to teach the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so he was there training for the fight with Jerry Quarry. And as I remember it, Jerry Quarry comes up. He had a son that was a toddler, and he came up because he wanted his son to meet Muhammad Ali. And so Ali jumps up and picks up his son and hugs him and kissed him on his cheeks and what have you. And then he gave his son back to Jerry, and he looked at him and he said, "I still got to whoop your, I still got." It's because Quarry was so overwhelmed. He was grateful. He wanted to shake Ali's hand. He didn't shake his hand. He looked at him with a glare and said, "I'm still got to whoop you. So don't even come that way." In other words, and I thought that was very telling on the brother. The other thing that, let me see, that he told me that when he went, that he fought Ernie Shavers. And I said, "Man, and this brother could hit." He said he was the hardest hitting fighter he's ever fought, even harder than George Foreman or any of them, Joe Frazier. He said it was likened under being hit in the head with a sludgehammer. He said he really, really was ringing his bell. In fact, he told me that in three fights, he was knocked out temporarily on his feet. One was Ernie Shavers, one was Joe Frazier, and I believe the first fight, and then George Foreman had him out on his feet. And he told me that George Foreman hit him so hard in his kidneys that he was afraid he was going to urinate on himself. And because he was, and he told me, it was funny because how he was comical. Like, he was saying, "Oh Allah, please don't let me myself in front of all of these people around the world." And he didn't. So, and the rest, they say, is history. But
Yes, sir.
we believed in him. But here's the other thing: there was another side of him where he became, through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I believe he was given to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to help him to get at our people. Just like Malcolm, just like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there are some of us that are gifts to the Lamb of God, so that his job can be a little easier, so we can have greater access. And he was one of those brothers. But here's the rub. Here's the problem. Like Malcolm and like others, he was so great. I believe that he was intoxicated in a way off of his greatness. And he couldn't give up the boxing. He couldn't come out of the ring. He said he wanted to come out of the ring, okay, but he couldn't. He went back to boxing. He felt like the lure of it, the limelight of the power, which is an intoxicant. And so he went back into the ring, and he told me that that was one of the worst times, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad summoned him to the house, and he gets in there, and he said he knew he was going to get a whipping, and that the Supreme Captain Raymond Sharif led him in and sat him down and stood behind him, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tore into him because he gave his word that he was going to quit boxing and help him in the teaching, to deliver the word to our poor people. And so the messenger he said the messenger tore him up, and his mind just left. His mind went blank, and the messenger dismissed him. He said, told the Supreme Captain to get this man out of here, or something to that effect. And he said he didn't even get in his car. He just walked and walked and walked. He walked all the way to the west side of Chicago, and until he couldn't. He was so exhausted that he got a motel room, and then he went to sleep. But he said, I don't know. I've never heard anybody tell that one before, but that's what he told me, that what happened. He wanted to, but he just couldn't. He could not give up the power and the notoriety. At one time, he was the the most widely known figure, his picture on the face of the planet Earth.
Mm.
You got to think about that, and he said that never would have happened had it not been for his acceptance of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, we barely made it out of high school. He could hardly read, but he learned how to read more proficiently. I used to watch him study and read, and he would have to put his right finger, index finger on the words and go word for word, because he was some people might call him semi-illiterate, but he was a very, very smart, very quick, very precocious brother. And so we loved him for his work and what he did do, because he did do a lot of good for us, because we still see the people that are affected by his influence. You can see that all throughout the sports world. And, and I ran into a book that was written by Richard Williams, the father of Serena and Venus. It's off the market now. I almost read the whole thing when I was sitting there at this old bookstore. I think it was in Los Angeles, somewhere I read it. And I looked for that book to buy it, and you can't find it anywhere. And in the book, Richard Williams is saying two things. One, he believed that the solution to the condition of Black people was only with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we should have our own state, our own land. But he also said that it was his meeting with Muhammad Ali that influenced him to put rackets in those girls' hands. And if you study that first, oh man, who's his name? He was their first pro teacher. He'll bear witness. You can go on Wikipedia. I forget his name, but he had Maria Rosa.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer Capriati, and Roddick. These were all his proteges, along with Venus and Serena. And he bears witness, and you can go on Wikipedia, that it was Muhammad Ali, that his father, Richard Williams, had studied him and formulated a formula for greatness for his girls based on his study of the boxing career of Muhammad Ali, his training methods and his ability to bounce back after defeat, that's kind of things. And so I looked at this and I said, all of these brothers that have been and sisters that have been influenced by his presence, they should also give praise and thanks to Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the last thing I would say about Ali is that he taught me some valuable lessons. And he was sitting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad one day, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him the reason why Black women, our sisters, have to be protected. And he said to Ali said this to me. He said, the messenger said that the most righteous woman on the face of the planet Earth can be turned, can be had in every kind of way, and they can lose their righteousness. He said, if you place them in the wrong environment, and he's taught on not having the women in environments with close proximity to males. He said that the two natures are opposite, they're going to attract. And then later on, years later, I was doing some kind of a program, a message, and I'd done some research, and sure enough, they said that 85% of these affairs and adultery and breaking families up have been caused by men or males working in close proximity with females. And I said, whoa, this is deep. So if you see them in the office, in an office environment or wherever males and females are working close together, it's just nature. The nature just sort of will overwhelm. And so you can pull a sister who is meaning well, righteous in her nature, righteous in her practice, and then she can be pulled or right off of her square of righteousness, right off of the walking in the path of righteousness. So we have to, as Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, keep them in environments where that is not compromised, because he said that the woman leans toward power. She's there as a helper, a helpmeet to the man, and she's there as the second self of the God, which is the man. See, this is what we're trying to do. So she's there to help him to become and manifest to God. And so she will be attracted to power. And see, so we can't have people in their faces continually because of the vibration, the energy that they give off. So I learned that, and that was a very valuable lesson that I got from brother. He taught me many, many other lessons, but that was the one that stood out. So that, I think, pretty much covers the relationship that we have with brother Muhammad Ali. Now, there was some issues that they're trying to make him regret his turning his back on Malcolm when he defected. Now, I didn't know, Gene, you had him on your show, and Gene told me that he was with the Muhammad Ali when he met with Malcolm in New York, and Malcolm asked him to come with him, that he was going to leave. This is before he made his statement, I'm going to leave the Nation of Islam. And so that was, and so Ali said that he wouldn't do that. He asked Gene, he said, Gene, what do you think? And Gene said, I think you should, as our old Irishman, we go away from the dance with the person that we came into the dance with, something to that effect. And he said Malcolm cussed him out then, so no, it was, I would say that at that time and even later, that, yeah, he might have softened his approach because the devil was already using Malcolm as a weapon. He was weaponized Malcolm against the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as he does with everybody else that he can overcome. So that, I think that's another part of that, because he stood firm. He was one that stood firm with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I don't care how you slice it, we love the work of Malcolm. And this is another point I wanted to elaborate on, is that I personally was influenced by Malcolm's representation of the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was reading his autobiography when I was a freshman in college that it influenced me. And then a brother gave me a tape, a 3.5-hour tape that Malcolm had made a month after the mosque in Los Angeles had been attacked. It was in, I think, May of 1962. And the teachings was so profound because he taught on Master Fard Muhammad, he taught on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he taught on so many different topics, the history of Moses and whatnot. So I wanted to give credit, because there was, I didn't, when we asked when did I first hear the teachings, but I wanted to also make it clear that there were seeds being planted. I remember as a young boy coming home from school, and my mother had the news on and what have you, and there was Malcolm X on the news. I didn't know at the time it was him, but I was attracted to his fire, his presentation. And my mother saw me, and she wouldn't turn the television on, I'll turn it off rather. And she said, "You can't be listening to nobody like that. He'll get you in trouble," or something to that effect. So from that point, it was all so many seeds that were planted. But I believe that it was the work of Brother Malcolm that really planted the seed in my heart to really want to investigate more and learn more and more about the teachings. This is really something, because, as the minister said, that Malcolm taught us what to do and what not to do. And I thought that was a beautiful way of explaining it, that he taught us what to do, how to function, how to act as a Muslim, and how not to act. And so I thought that was a beautiful way of, because we get, there's nothing wasted. We have lessons, and there's nothing wasted, and it's there for us to evolve and to grow and to be our better selves, as they say. But that, I think that's about it on Brother Muhammad Ali.
Excellent. And thank you very much, my Mr. Preston. The people are showing you love all around the world. Walaikum
Oh, praise
salam,
be to
Sister
Allah. Praise
Miriam.
be to Allah.
Walaikum salam, Sister Naima. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Shout out to our YouTube family, Brother Musa, Sister Auntie, Brother Daniel E., Brother Kente, Brother Nelson Ramos, Brother Adio Nasur. Thank
Oh,
you all
praise be to
for
Allah.
everyone who
Thank you.
continues to show love. Yes, sir. Oh,
Thank you.
one more question dealing with Muhammad Ali. Can you let us know the story about his name and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taking the name and how did he get it back, or what took place
Right.
with his name?
You know, only thing I can say is that he took the name. This was right after the messenger had spanked him, and then it came out in the Muhammad Speaks. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that he went back to boxing for a little money, you know, um, and um, and so the only thing I can say is that that edict it stuck for a minute or two, but he was such a prolific figure that nobody hardly in the black community would dare call him Cassius Clay again. You
Mm,
know, I would say that, you know. But I believe that what I heard is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad reinstated the name later, though, that
mm.
he reinstated because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved Dolly. And
Yes, sir.
as I've been told that he was pained when he got his jaw broke by Ken Norton, that pained the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he lost to Joe Frazier. That pained the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because of how much, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved him, and so, but he had to, he had to spank him because he went against his word.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. Thank you for this wonderful history. The
Yes,
next
sir.
question is, how did you handle 1975 when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad departs, the fall of the nation? How did that personally impact you, and how did it impact the community as a whole?
Okay, and that's a great question. Uh, it impacted me in as I get older. I look back on those times, and I'm still growing from that because we were emotionally attached to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, we did not know exactly who he was until the minister taught us who he is. We didn't know that. We just knew he was the messenger of God. He was the one that the uh, the Bible talked about the Lamb of God in the book of Revelations that took the book out of the hand of those who the one that sat on the throne, and that he opened up the seven seals. And but when he departed from us, we never believed because nobody ever told us that he said he was gonna depart one day, but we didn't see it as him. That they you know what Later on, we started to reflect, and he used to say from time to time, they're gonna say that I'm dead,
Mm,
but don't believe them.
mm,
But when you are in the moment and you see that I didn't see a body, but I saw a casket. I was there, like with the other brothers and
mm,
sisters, and we walked up and saluted it. But
mm.
I was there, and but it was a very, very, very hard time, and I believe that um, hypocrisy had already broken out in the ministry class, and we were corrupted. And so the in a way, we knew in our heart of hearts that we couldn't keep on that trajectory, see, because we couldn't keep on that path as a nation, that we had to clean up. Because what happened is that we started to become very, very big, very, very powerful in the Black community, and we were the power structure in the Black community, in the
Mm,
major
mm,
cities across the country. And so I believe that when we started to have things, material things, and we started to work to drive the biggest cars and wear the fanciest suits, and sisters had fur coats, full length floor fur coats. Brothers was wearing fur coats and chinchilla coats, and all of this kind of stuff. So uh, we lost our footing, we lost our bearing. So I would just say that it was a very, very difficult time. So many of us, we welcomed Imam Muhammad's ascendancy.
Mm,
We welcomed it because, we knew what he was talking about. And so when he came, he was chosen to be the leader. And we were told to, after Savior's Day, he made his address, and he asked to see all of the ministers in the what we now call the Masala in
mm,
Mount Mariam. And so all of the ministers in the Nation of Islam went to meet him. He was taking a pledge from everybody. And so all of us went up he greeted him and embraced him and whatnot. And then he said that he was going to teach his father's teaching, that he was going to, and no, he meant it. He said it like this: I'm going to finish out the work of my father in his
mm,
teaching, and then I'm going to do my work. That's what he said.
mm, mm,
And he would have us to come, just like we did under Elijah Muhammad. We came into the Chicago headquarters for training and teaching once a month. And he had about 10, maybe 11, or maybe 10, at least 10, what we call minister kits. And it was his exegesis or his take and understanding on the teachings of his father, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they were very, very profound. It had a lot of light in it. They were very profound. So just here's the thing about Imam Muhammad, to really get a good understanding of his mind, the minister explains him in a message on side 2. It was it's called the secret relation, not the secret relationship. It is the the relationship between black male and female. It was done at the Ritz Hotel in 1980 in Los Angeles, and the minister explains what happened to Imam Muhammad as to why he had this love-hate relationship with his father. And so I would say that there was a lot of good that he taught, but as time progressed, what we saw was a bitterness, a vitriol that anybody that was watching from as a casual observer would say that it's hatred on this brother, and
mm,
it was toward the Savior, Master Father Muhammad, and he went back and forth in his expression of that hatred and that dislike, that anger for his own father. And the minister explains it very carefully, and it is what helped me to understand what was really going on with him, because he would have tirades, man. He would be going off on his father. He would be going off on the Savior. He would be going off on the Nation of Islam and the law. But once we understood that his whole purpose was to destroy the Nation of Islam,
mm,
that was his purpose, was to destroy the Nation of Islam. Okay, and that's what he did. There's no question about that. He did that, and I have to be very careful because I don't want to mislead the believers in any way whatsoever. I would say that had Imam Muhammad not come on the scene, that we wouldn't have the minister. The minister had to be the one to rebuild the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam had to be leveled, you see, and because it's a work that is continually evolving. And this is very critical for us to understand. And a lot of people do not understand that the Nation of Islam is a movement that continues to evolve into a state of one state of perfection after another.
mm,
And
mm,
so and you got to understand that if you look at when the minister teaches about all of the prophets and their communities being overcome by Satan, Well, that same thing happened to us prior to 75. We had been overcome by Satan. And so when Wallace Muhammad came into office, we felt like, man, this is going to, everything is going to be good. We're going to get cleaned up. All of us are going to get cleaned up, and we're going to go ahead and take care of the business. But we began to understand that his job was just to tear it down, to tear it all the way down. And that's what he did. And I can remember being in the mosque when he took the chairs out, like we have in Mosque Mariam now. He took all the chairs out and we sat on the floor. And I remember one day he tore into his father in ways it was painful. And I had to get up, and there were so many of the older believers that were had to get up, and tears streaming down their face, because we loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He took us from absolutely nothing. And for him to do that kind of work, and his own son would come and tear him down like that, that was very problematic. I can remember going to Juma prayer, because what happened was they literally lost the mosque because the followers were dwindling. So they had to go to that what they call Ephraim Baha Center, which is, if you go outside the where the bakery is in the university, you go outside the back door, right across, there's the Ephraim Baha Center. That's where they were having Juma prayer. So we would be in Juma prayer, and all of a sudden he's delivering what they call a fire khutbah, taking care of the business. Then it would be like he would have a blackout or something, and he'd start tearing his father down, just tearing him up. And I remember that the minister he had already left, and we're sitting in the Ephraim Baha Center listening to the khutbah, and then he start not only tearing against his father, he started tearing the minister down. He was just on fire, tearing the minister down, and it was disturbing. In fact, one of the brothers that was one of his imams, Kazim Ahmed, who used to be Lieutenant Larry, but may Allah be pleased with him, he's transitioned. But he was in Dallas, Texas as an imam. And so he came back into the khutbah, and he tore him up because he was suspicious that he was talking. And so,
okay. But Minister, not to cut you off. When your phone went just muted, you said he was suspicious. Why?
He was suspicious in some kind of way, I don't know how, that he was talking to the minister on the phone. Okay. So I was fairly close with Imam Muhammad. He made me an imam. I studied him, and but I was being disturbed then. By that time I was really disturbed. So I set up a meeting with Dr. Salam, and he's still alive. You'll bear witness that I called him, and I went by his store. He had a bookstore, and I went by, and I said, Dr. Salam, I'm really disturbed at how the Imam is completely being preoccupied by his father, the Master Farad Muhammad, and now the minister. And he said the same thing. And he said he was the president of what the organization at that time was called the World Community of Al-Islam in the West. And Dr. Salam was the president. And he said that he was going to have a meeting with him and talk to him, and that he did. But it still from time to time would pop up like that. And so these are real serious issues, man. And I had to walk away with it, but from that the circle, because I couldn't see how he can say that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, main work was to transform Saudi Arabia, the Arabs, which was 600,000 Arabs, that he transformed into a moral community, see, and then at the same time would not give his father the same credit for transforming the life of millions. You see, so I didn't see that, so it wasn't resonating with me. So, but I will say that this is another thing that I had walked away and came back home, and I remember one day I got a call from Minister Jabril, and he asked me to come pick him up and Mother Tanetta to take them to a coffee shop in Hyde Park called Mellow Yellow. And of course, when Minister Jabril would call, and I'm on it. So I went and took he and Mother Tanetta, and I asked him, "Do you want me to stay out?" He said, "No, come on, sit down, sit down." So we were He met with one of the leaders of the Ahmadiyya Muslim, I think that's what it was, and he had a tape where Imam Muhammad was suggesting that the minister be murdered, and that really sent me for a loop here, because I heard it. In fact, I have the tape somewhere, but I heard it, played it over and over again, and it was heartbreaking. And so because he said, into a group of thousands of Muslims in what they call an ijtima, which is a main gathering of Muslims where they teach and get stronger to do dawah. And he said that, I think that anybody that says that God is a man, that we should kill him. Well, who else could he be talking about? He did not mention the minister by name, but who else would that be? And anybody else would be in that that category. So I was just too through. So I wrote him a letter and took it over to my stepmother, who was best friends with his youngest sister, or his sister Lottie, who was Raya, may Allah be pleased with her, and she got it to him. Because I think I still have the letter somewhere here, but I was just that upset and said, that he would even suggest that kind of thing. So you see, what I'm not trying to negate the good that he does, or that he's done, or that he did, his contributions to his community. That's not what I'm about. But the truth has to come out. I'm here to bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been walking in the valley of the shadow of death since he picked this work up. We hear him talk about it, but he never came out publicly and said this. But he knew about it. I know he had to know about it because they were there in the palace, But what did he do? He loved the children of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He loved the family of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He loved the Nation of Islam. So it didn't matter, I guess, what the brother said, but it mattered to me and to many of us who were hurt by it, because now we're saying, well, what's going on here? Now let me straighten this all out, because at the end, because I'm still communicating with people that are in his community. I don't argue, fight with them. Sometimes we have a serious dialogue, but he.
Thank you, everyone who is watching and continues to watch the People's Podcast. We're getting some primary source, exclusive history. All praises due to Allah. Thank you, everyone who is watching. I can't wait to upload this to YouTube so that you all can please put in the comment section your questions and let us know if you have any guest suggestions. Who do you suggest? Perhaps even yourself, and what city you all are watching from. We're going to get right back to our brother, student minister Preston Muhammad, on being made an Imam by Imam Warrith Deen Muhammad. And
okay, I see it. I had sorry, we had a little mistake here.
But, yes, sir. I'm right here with you.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I would just say that I'm trying to remember my thought. I don't want to be like Sleepy Joe Biden, man.
Yes, yes, sir. You said that you were with the Imam and you saw the end result. You were speaking
the evolution, right? And many of us have seen his when we had Savior's Day, I believe, out in Los Angeles, early in the part of the '90s or mid '90s, somewhere around there, where they were at Juma prayer, and Imam Muhammad came up and said that we are going to follow the minister right into the promised land. Okay, and so I saw that, and I, in communicating with some of the followers or whatever, they would tell me, that he said one tafsir, one message he delivered, I think it was either Kuba or tafsir, that he was revisiting or was going to have to revisit the teachings of his father. You see, and so I looked at this thing, and I praise be to Allah. Had it not been for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I could be trapped, because the Nation of Islam, see, there's never been anything like the Nation of Islam. See? And all of the prophets' communities have been overcome. And that's because they were not enough, they didn't have enough strength. That's even Prophet Muhammad. All of the communities. Why should we follow all of these communities that the prophets led? I don't care who they were, they did great work. But the minute they were off the scene, Satan shows right up, which means that they did not have enough in their message to purify the followers from Satan. That was only to take place in the end times, in the West, when Islam rose in the West as the prophecy. So why should we waste time with teachings? I don't care if you call African teachings or Pan-Africanism, all that. To me, it is not going to resurrect our people. See, and this is the only thing. When he disbanded the FOI, when he took us out, he told, burn the uniforms up. Then, when he took us out of from the restrictive law, that was the end. And the dietary law, that was the end. When he stripped us from that restrictive law, because you have to put a hard law on people that have been completely destroyed, that were completely affected by the disease of Satan, and that you can't get around the restrictive law. The restrictive law, that's what it says, is our success at any time. And so when he did away with that, then you can see that the evil come up. There was no real defense. Okay, and so then I would read what he would say. I'd hear his teaching. I've got a lot of his tapes. I got tapes where he was teaching prior to 75. And then he tried to make Brother Abdullah Master Fard Muhammad. He tried to pawn him off. I was sitting right on the rostrum in Los Angeles Convention Center in 1975, I believe it was, where he had Brother Abdullah on the rostrum. He said, "Now he's an old friend of the family. Now don't go asking him about the lessons, because but he's an old friend of the family." He's trying to make a suggestion that he was Master Fard Muhammad. Then he said that he told the ministers in the ministry class that he was number 3 in the line, but he really was number 1, because he had met Master Fard Muhammad in Jamaica and other places, and he told him he wanted him to send him his tapes. He liked to hear his teaching, and he said, "Here's number," and I got this in black and white. It was in the minister's kits. He said, "Here's number 3 teaching number 1." See? So what he was doing was attempting to destroy the God that came to free us. That he was, "I'm going to destroy him in the minds of the people. I'm going to destroy my father, who he said was not a messenger, and I'm going to destroy the Nation of Islam." That was his mission. That was his job. And he did that job, and he did it well. He did it well. Now, I spoke with, I was befriended by my brother, may Allah be pleased with him, the oldest son of Elijah Muhammad, Brother Emmanuel. And we were talking one day about it. He said, he told him that he had met with Master Fard Muhammad. He said, "I went to my father. I said, 'Daddy, Wallace said that he met with the Savior.'" And the messenger looked over me. He said, "He's lying, son." Paying no attention, he's lying. So, but that was deception. That was deception. Now, I tried my best to be brothers with all of our family, because we've been promised that wherever we've been scattered, we're going to come back together. The messenger told the minister, he said, they're going to leave, but they'll all come back one by one. And I see brothers coming back, and they're coming closer, brothers that I communicate with that at one time hardly spoke, because we were not on the Deen, so to speak, following the Deen of the faith. But anyway, I did learn a lot from him. And I thank Allah because he taught me the prayers, the science of the prayers, and because we were doing prayers like, we still do a lot of times with dua in a dua position. And he was the one that, as far as I know, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad sent him to teach prostration in New York in the 50s, and in 1963, that's because New York was the biggest mosque. So we would teach because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad prostrated, and but it was it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I did in many ways because I did learn a lot from him, but on the back end, I also learned what not to do. Like we talked about Malcolm, what to do and what not to do. I also learned the same from Imam Muhammad. Praise is due to Allah.
All praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. You've given us some great history, and we want to come right back to you. I want to have 2 quick questions right before we go to our sponsorships. And thank you, everyone who was watching. The first question is the lecture. Could you give us that title of the lecture one more time that the minister did in 1980 about?
Yes, it came in a package. There was it was black male-female relationships. Okay, and I mean, we should just get that just for that topic alone. But the minister is on the very first tape. It's a package with, and I mean we're way outdated now because we are MP3 and CD and all that. But I have in cassette tapes, and it was early 80s in the rebuilding process in the Ritz Hotel in Los Angeles. But yes, it was black male-female relationships, tape 1, side 2. And you listen to that whole side, the minister explains about the pain that Wallace had. He said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was on the run for 7 years and going in and out, seeing his family, but he had to stay. He was running from hypocrites, from the government and whatnot. And then he said the minister said he went to prison for about 4 or 5 years. He said Wallace was about 12 or 13, I believe it was, when his father came out and had to then discipline his family, bring them into order. And so, but he said all of that time he saw the pain and the suffering on his mother Clara Muhammad. And so, and he's a very sensitive brother now, and a very loving brother. So don't get me wrong. See, I want to speak the truth in defense of and bearing witness to our minister and to the Messiah in our midst. I have to speak up on this because I was there and I experienced it. I saw it. I heard it. Not only that, prior to 75, I can bear witness. I was in rooms with the regional ministers of different regions and heard them speak negatively and ill and say some of the most wicked things against the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who was the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, so when you take this as a backdrop, then you can see why the Nation of Islam had to fall, because it already had fallen. It already was fallen, and we were under a drive to make money, to build up our image, because we never had nothing before. That's the way I see it. We've never had anything, but we have now. All of a sudden, we've got ministers and businessmen in the Nation of Islam that are driving Rolls Royces and things like that. We never had nothing like that. We were storefront, man. We were poor people. But all of a sudden now we have some means, some resources from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and not to speak of the visibility from the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I say this, and I was very proud as a young Muslim when we walked in. I walked into the bank we had on Stony, not too far from the mosque.
Yes, sir.
And it was a beautiful thing. All of the tellers had their garb on with the headpieces and everything. And I was greeted with a big smile by Brother Wali Muhammad. He's the messenger's grandson. He used to be a disc jockey and had his own program called The Communicator. He's passed. He was down in Atlanta, but he's returned to Allah as well. But he all I could do is rush, and we rushed to each other and greeted each other and hugged each other because I was just so proud to walk in our own bank to see that kind of progress. And not just that, it was just so many other businesses that we had, and it all had to come down. I was told that Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted to build up the businesses so that he can attract our people, you see, giving them an understanding of what we have to do to take care of ourselves, but attract them to the truth. So, but anyway, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it, but I know we only have so much time. But may Allah be pleased with our brother in the end, because he certainly did a great work, a great work, And I would say this too. This is one thing, is that he started teaching that Allah is. How did he? I'm trying to figure out how he was. He was saying that Allah could never be a man, that Allah is not even a created being, see, but he could never be a man. And so as I got studying more and more into the Holy Quran and the teachings of what the Quran is really saying, then that's all I can see him as being, is a man. Because that's all I can say is that when we read those Quranic verses where it says that Allah made all of the angels, everything, bow to his man. See, we think that it says, when I have made him complete, or when he has been duly proportioned. No, the word for complete is sawaha in Arabic. And sawaha means when I have perfected him, then bow down. Then it says, it doesn't say bow down, it says sajadeen. Sajda is the position of prostration when your head is on that prayer rug. And so this is misleading. Why would you say that we can't be God when the God that you believe in says in the Quran that I've created him and given him what makes me Allah, which is Ruh. You can't be a mystery with Ruh. Ruh is the revelation. Ruh is the spirit. Then you read in the second surah, 31st verse of the Holy Quran, where it says, I taught Adam all of the names. I got maybe 17, 20 some Qurans, and every one of the Qurans use the word that say all. See? Now, if I'm teaching you all of the names, and I'm teaching you the wisdom of everything, is that man has the capacity to express and master everything in existence.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, everything, as the Holy Quran said, is a word. And names are words, okay? But names represent the identity and the depth of understanding of the word. The names represent the attributes of a thing. So you will learn everything that the man has, the women have the capacity to learn everything in existence. So we can't say that we're not God. He said, well, if he was creator, or he wasn't a creation, okay? But yet, they say the light in the Holy Quran said that the light is Allah. Allah is the light, okay? Now that's created, isn't it? That's so right. I said, this brother's off course. And we can be driven off course by our anger. We can be driven off course by our disappointment. We can be driven off course by our ego, by a whole lot of things we can be driven. But I would say that the brother was a smart, brilliant man. When you listen to his teachings and just listen to him, even when he was deviant from and working with his in his mind to tear down the work of his father. Even when he was in that state, he was still brilliant. And this is one of the things that we got to understand. See, it's like I learned this in the autobiography of Malcolm X, that he said, when I couldn't get to to Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I got to his son Wallace Muhammad. See, and that was therein was the problem, because it was Imam Muhammad that really, in my judgment, from what I've done in my research, that was the one that planted the seed of the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on Malcolm. But here's the thing. This is history, and the reason why we want to express this history is so that we don't fall victim to the things that are going to be in our face once the minister departs. We don't want to fall victim. We know that we will be tried over the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is real. But we have to be studied up and prayed up, and we have to be strong enough as a brotherhood, strong enough as a sisterhood, so that we know that we won't fall victim or fall because they coming after us. See, it's all about us. It's always been about us. I don't care how you slice it. Like Donald Trump and all these guys, they're only there as a response. This is a survival move. He's a survival man for the survival of the rulership of the Caucasian males. That's all it is. That's all it is. And when they thought that they was going to be all over when Barack Obama went in, and so now they will listen to a liar, because that's what they are. They will listen to a deceiver, it don't matter, because that's what they are, and they are trying to stay on the planet. But its time is up. It's all over. They can't. They understand that, but they say, "Well, look, man, you got to take us all the way down." You see, you got to take us, and believe you me, that we have to be tight with the God and with one another, so that we can survive what's getting ready to happen here in America. It's already happening, but we get ready. We have to survive this. Praise is due to Allah.
Oh, yes, praise buddy. Yes, sir. You teaching, Minister Preston, and thank you all for showing love.
Akbar.
Yes, sir.
All praise to Allah.
Yes, sir.
It's a Louis Fire.
Brother Wayne says, love the first-hand information, excellent. And we have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you for every anonymous cash app to the People's Podcast, because we are truly grateful for your assistance. 1 second. And we're coming right back to our brother, student minister Preston Muhammad, doing a phenomenal job with these with the history and his life journey. And we are live with the People's Podcast. Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Excellent. Thank you all, everyone who's watching. We took a 2-week hiatus, but the People's Podcast is back and strong. All praises due to Allah. So I wanted to come back to you with, let's stay right there with the domestic life. How was that presented after 1975 about the messenger? How did that affect you? How was that presented?
Well, let me say this. We started before 75. because we knew the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had wives. So in the ministry class, many of the ministers would start taking wives.
Mm.
Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad preached and taught against it. But he said, you can't do like what I do. But that's what happened. That's what happened. And that because here's the thing, we have a tendency as black males to be thinking we're so competitive. We got this from the white man too, because the white man fights everything, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we're so competitive. We want to feel like, okay, the messenger can do it, then maybe we can do it. When we're not trying to do it like he's doing it, but we can have more than one wife. But that was another problem that began to dismantle the moral fiber and character of the nation, because we didn't have any kind of knowledge of that. We didn't know what to do with that. See, uh, even when it was explained to us that it's an exception to the rule. It wasn't the rule. One is better for you if you but knew.
Yes, sir.
But to show you how immature we were, that's what led us into this kind of mindset. And I mean, it was horrible. But the point is, and that's one of the reasons why we fail. Because we I would just say this, man, because here's the thing. I want us to be joyous but we have to go through all of these trials in order to purify ourselves. So these kinds of things had to happen. We had to go through them in order to purify ourselves. It was the Minister Farrakhan that taught us and defended the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in that. See, and so we understood from his teaching about the wives and whatnot, and so it's a very touchy subject, but I would just offer this, that we have to be obedient. We have to do what we are told. Now that's the struggle. We can't take it upon ourselves to do what we want to do or what we desire to do, because certainly the black woman is the most beautiful woman on the face of the planet Earth. There's no question about that. And the devil got her stripped all the way down now. Back in those days, that wasn't happening. That was, it's worse than it's ever been. But we have to be able to respect and protect our women. And we have to be able to understand the divinity and the guidance that God gave the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in that regard, because the messenger said that he made him to do it. He made him to take on wives. See, we have to be able to understand that. And the purpose for it will be given to us as we evolve. We'll be able to see, because that woman is the key to the whole thing. She's the key to the whole thing. So let's say 75% of his work is with the woman.
That's right.
She's the key. She is the key. And you see what the devil has done. He's destroying us by destroying her. He's destroying our women. He's taken our women over. He reversed on the plantation. He reversed the roles. So also that we could not be a threat to him. He knew his only threat was the black man. And if I can reduce him from manhood to maleness, then I can control the whole thing. See? And so we don't understand this principle. And so I would say that there's a lot with this thing with the wives and what have you. But I would advise against it. I would advise wholeheartedly against it. And as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, settle down to a good choice.
Yes, sir.
Because she'll help you to get to God. There's no question about that. She will help you to get to God. So all praise is due to Allah. So, but I mean, I'd have to really give it some serious thought in a major way. But you know, I don't. All I can say is that I believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was right and exact in what he did in his 44-year mission amongst us. I believe he's in power. I believe the minister is right and exact in his work that he's done amongst us. Now, here's the deal. Only thing I can say is that, you see, we have to be purified from what? In our thinking, our thoughts. So we can't think like niggas, excuse the expression.
That's right.
See? But we're always suspicious. And we think, and we'll put, and you really we mess ourselves up when we classify and judge the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with our own low down, dirty thinking. See what I'm saying? We
That's
just come out of the porno den. We just come up out of the we come out of the strip club, and you know we running around trying to give put a messenger of God, a Christ, the Christ himself, and trying to manage these wicked thoughts and transpose or put those wicked thoughts on the messenger of God, the Messiah for the whole planet. This is really ridiculous. Now the devil will want you to do it because he's a grafted man. See, and in the end, the scriptures talks about his inability to be able to reproduce. That's a part of what he would lose in his graftation. See, and so yeah, he would want you to, because he's undercover. You know, he bisexual, homosexual. See, he's not the real deal. See, that's the original man. So he's got to compromise the original man at all costs, because we are the rulers that have to take over. He's already lost. We just got to be able to walk righteously. We can't take over with the same mind that he has.
Yes,
we
sir.
have to be purified of that mind. So I would just say that, like the minister said, watch how you think about him, how you roll him around in your mind, right? Because he's the Holy Spirit. You get messed up. You get to stumbling over of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I've lived long enough to see people just literally lose their minds, die, heart attack, all that, because they fell on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What do you mean? If Jesus said, if you fall on him, you're gonna break to pieces. If he falls on you, you're gonna be ground into powder. See? And so I'm saying that we struggle. When we struggle, we have to pray and struggle and ask Allah to bless us to think rightly toward your servant. Why? Because we got all kind of demons popping up in us. Now, this is the thing. When we go to lesson number 1 and 10, it talks about why do we kill 4 devils. Okay. Minister Jibril, I asked several of the ministers through the years, and the only thing that they could really tell me is envy, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said is one of those devils. Okay. But now when you read the study guides, the minister has, arrogance or vanity, ego, anger, fear. He got all these devils that are dominating us. But we also taught in the Quran that we be surrounded by Satan in front of you, on your right, your left, and in your back, in your rear.
Yes, sir.
So, I pray over this. And I said, well, look at this. The question would be, what 4 devils are you being dominated by? What 4 devils am I being dominated by? See, so now we know the formula about self examination, self-analysis, and self-correction. See, because as we grow, and I thank you for your great interview with Dr. Wesley, because as you grow, you roll into all of the good and the power of God that you have. But first, you rolling into all of the wickedness that the devil done put on us. See, the devil's wickedness is with us as DNA deep. The devil has influence on us in such a way that we can't act like that that he hasn't influenced us. So here we all of a sudden these thoughts come up in our head. How'd they come? Because they was already there. Who put them there? Satan. Satan planted them. See, by our lifestyle that we live. So we have to understand the importance of prayer, the importance of study, the importance of doing the work in the community, the importance of service, the importance of learning the principles of life, the principles of Allah, His personality. Okay, this is why this is so important, because we have the disease, the infection from Satan's world, and we have to purify ourselves from it. And so that's what I would say, that we have to be careful about how we think, and especially about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then we have to be careful how we think about one another.
That's right. That's right.
First of all, we have to be careful about how we think about ourselves. Okay, because we're sinners, man. We violate. And so, I pray all of the time, because and this is the beauty of the minister, is that he bears our burdens. See? In other words, because he's so wise, he's so locked in with the God that but he has to love us so much. He loves us so much that he overlooks how we insult him, how we violate him. See? And so I'm just saying that all praise is due to Allah, that we have such a one in our midst that loves us so much in spite of our own evil and our own wicked deeds, that he still loves us. And it's a marvelous thing. It's a wonderful thing. So anyway, that's my take on that. I mean, if I have, I'm gonna go back and think about it, because that's certainly something that it's an excellent question, and something that we have to really think on. Because how are we going to stand up and defend the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he's gone, and the devil is throwing everything in the media against? Will we run for cover? Will we run for cover? Will we run trying to hide? So all praise due to Allah. So let's get studied up and be ready to handle our business as believers. Praise be to Allah.
Excellent. Yes, sir. And thank you all for watching. And thank you, Minister, for your transparency, your honesty. You're doing a phenomenal job per usual. My next question for you is, sir, you spoke of a brother Abdullah that Imam Warrith Deen was trying to make into Master Muhammad. Can you clarify to us who is Brother Abdullah?
Well, he he came into America, as he said, in 1938. And I understand that he met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and became a friend of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the early 60s.
Mm.
And so when the nation fell, then he became an imam under Imam Warrith Deen Muhammad. He was the imam first in Oakland and California. But I believe it was Mother Tanetta, sister, Brother Jabril, others, once that Imam started making that claim, they went and talked to him personally. And he said, no, he was not Master Farad Muhammad. No, indeed. And he said the reason why is because, he didn't meet the Honorable Elijah Muhammad until the early 60s. But that's there's other things that are involved. It just escapes my mind now. But I remember Dr. Wesley went out and beautifully defended this right in the face of, I think, the Imam there in Oakland, and he took care of the business, and he had written a book on this, I believe. Yes, and it takes care of the business that proves without a shadow of a doubt that he was not Master Farad Muhammad. But and this is my argument. What I have with him, I've went back and forth with a lot of them, and I said, that that's not true. I said, now, if Imam Muhammad was bent on steering his community, so-called, into orthodoxy in the right way, why wouldn't he just ask Abdullah, Imam Abdullah, if he was Master Farad Muhammad? He never asked him if he was. Why wouldn't he ask him? That would have been a death knell. See, that would have been okay for the so-called quote unquote Nation of Islam. Because
Yes,
that's
sir.
what we built on point number 12. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. No, the question. So, how did he look? If it was even a question, how did he look?
There were some similarities, and I don't have any pictures right now, but there was some similarities in terms of stature or whatever. He had a white beard or whatever, but he was not. It proved to be, beyond a shadow of a doubt, not Master Farad Muhammad. See,
Okay.
and by his own admission that he was not. So, and so it was. And I heard a tape by Imam Muhammad. He said, I never asked him if he was. He said, I just believed that. That's what I felt. So here he was put into conjecture on something as important as to support his system, his position that the NOI, Nation of Islam, is all wrong. That we are kafiruns, that we are practices of shirk. You see that, so why not come on out and have him bear witness and then be done with it? But he didn't, because it wasn't true. That's the whole thing. But many members of our nation found that out, and I'm still correcting brothers that I stood up with in prior to 75, and I say, look, why would you present him as Master Farad when that's not his name and that's not who he identified with, and that's I mean, so what they were doing was carrying out the I would say the wishes, or the party line, so to speak, of the Imam's community.
Yes, sir.
Great. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, sir. Excellent. We have a few more questions for our brother. Thank you all who are watching. Can't wait to upload to YouTube. My next question for you, sir, is I want to go back. You said you were there and you saluted the casket. What was that like? 1975. Like, what was that like? Saluting the casket. Like, how did you feel?
Well, I was heartbroken, and so we just walked up, and just saluted and then turned left and walked out. But I felt I had a heavy heart, because here's a box here. See, I know what we were told, but that when you got somebody that's in a box here, because it wasn't until later that Imam Sultan's father said. I mean, I didn't know until later, but some of the brothers told me years later that he had a fit when he went to the funeral home, and said, that's not my grandfather. I didn't know that at the time but it was years later, and they had to contain him, because he said, that's not my grandpa, because he was closer to his grandfather than probably his sons, because he was the pilot for the plane that we had for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was always there with him, and he said, you people are lying. That's not my granddad. See? And then later I found from I think it was brother Minister Rasul, I believe it was, the Minister Ishmael, one, they said the mole was on the wrong side of the face. Okay, but that was years later.
Yes,
So,
sir.
but to answer your question, as soldiers, and as good soldiers, we just walked in and popped and saluted and did the left face and moved on.
Yes, sir.
That was right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you, when did you not believe that that's who that was in the box on the casket?
Well, I didn't believe I. Let's see. That had to be, I would say, when I came back in the nation to help the minister, and that was in the 80s. When I came back in, because he said I was going. They had the Final Call building, and I was going to buying tapes and picking up tapes because across the street they had a tape center. It was a building on the corner,
Yes, sir.
and going and loading up on tapes. And then I was talking to the different brothers and what have you. And one brother told me, he said the minister said that he didn't want anybody coming back to help him if they couldn't prove that um, that Master Farad Muhammad is not God. See,
Mm.
that was the thing. And then um, later on, I would say maybe a year or two later, then I was blessed to believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was still alive. And believe me, and I'll just say it, because my wife, she has sight, and there were things that he came to her in a vision, and
Mm.
and there were things that she never knew about me that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew about me, and that different things, and and she told me to wake me up and tell me that he was alive,
Mm.
and so and I believed that he's alive, and then I read your father's book, and that blew me away. but so, but but first I had to deal with the reality of God and man, because whilst Muhammad did a bang up job, brother, and when I tell you he did a bang up job in bringing his rationale. And the beautiful thing, the minister is so beautiful in how he described it. He said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought the thesis, and then Wallace Muhammad brought the antithesis and
Mm.
antithesis,
Yes, sir.
and the synthesis. Okay, meaning that there were issues, things that he was bringing that we can definitely use and evolve from. See, but his overriding position was wrong. See, and the minister beautifully uh, made the correction. He made the correction, and it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful because you
I'll
can't.
say this,
Because here, let me just say this too, because what people don't understand is the influence of the Nation of Islam. Okay, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Well, I'll put it to you like this: that I believe that Master Farad Muhammad is the one that planted the tree of Islam in America.
yes,
Okay?
sir.
I believe that tree was a man, and that is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad his work is the root, it is the trunk of that tree, it is the branches of that tree, and it is the fruit of that tree. And the greatest fruit from the tree that he, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, came from him is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But I will say to you that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it, and I heard the minister say it, that the Nation of Islam is not a mass movement. Okay? It's not a mass movement. Okay. Well, then why are we going out here trying to get all of the dead and all of the, get all of the people? But it is there to influence the masses, to evolve them to resurrection.
Mm, mm.
Bring them from a state of death to life. The Holy Quran says that they didn't have an argument. They didn't start falling out with one another until after
Right.
knowledge. You didn't have nothing to argue over because we was too dumb to argue. We didn't have an argument. Okay. So when we look at the influence of the Nation of Islam, okay, let's start with just Islam. There wouldn't be no Orthodox Muslims or anywhere really like there is now. Because when we started, most of the Orthodox Muslims were the immigrants were undercover.
That's right.
They didn't come out. Wallace Muhammad was the one that brought them out. Okay. But here is somebody on that tree, Wallace Muhammad. Now look at the greatest preacher in Orthodox Islam in America is Siraj Wahab.
Mm, mm.
Student minister Jeffrey Seven, under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he was the minister in Brooklyn. Okay, so here's a man that goes raises millions of dollars in all of these cities where all these immigrants and their doctors, they're Muslims and they're doctors and they this, that, and the other, and he goes and raises money so they can build mosque and whatever. Okay, no argument with him, but but just to show you the influence of the Nation of Islam. Okay,
Exactly.
and so when you look at just the plain influence, then let's look at Dr. Sebi, right? Dr. Sebi was taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Mm.
And now he's gone on now, but he has thousands and not millions of followers. See? So when we look at the influence, okay, and there's so many more that we can talk about. Let's look at entertainment and Kenny Gamble, Lukman Haq now, but he's the one that, what's the name of that Philadelphia International with
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Melvin and the Blue Notes and
Yes, sir.
all of
Yes,
those
sir.
different groups there. That's his, that's him. That's the teachings from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the power to influence a black man so that he can find his power. He can find his purpose in life. It is the teaching of Elijah Muhammad that brings the man up out of you. It is the teachings of Elijah Muhammad that takes you from a state of being a Negro to being a God. And so if you look at, there's so many. Look at the influence the minister had on Michael Jackson's life. Look at the influence that people talk about. Well, did he know Tupac? Well, he said he never met Tupac, but he taught Tupac's mother and Tupac's father. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave them the knowledge that they had, see, and when they were in New York. So that went into the seed that made Tupac. So when you look at the influence of the Nation of Islam, it's all over. It's comprehensive. I can go down the list and talk about just so many more people that have been definitely influenced. People don't know about what's the brother's name? Oh man, his name escapes me, but he was James Brown's manager.
Brother Mustafa. Brother Mustafa.
Right, right. He's gone on now.
Yes,
but
sir.
He was James Brown manager for many years. They
That's
got
right.
him James Brown to the table, and James Brown got in some trouble because he promised Honorable Elijah Muhammad he was going to help him raise money for a hospital. See? But if we look at all of these different brothers and sisters that came through the Nation of Islam, and look at the work that we've done to influence people's homes. It doesn't matter if they're Christians or whoever they are. This is what helps us to be better human beings and get closer to God, to be prepared, because it says that God is going to sort it out in the end, but we got to at least get through the door. Who is the
That's
Honorable
right.
Minister, right?
That's right.
So, it's just that the influence is great. And this is why the enemy has done nothing but try to destroy the minister from the beginning. That our enemies, see, they know, and we don't know. But the Holy Quran says that God's going to make us, Allah's going to make us to inherit the land. The hereafter is land. They know it's land. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. See, God's going to make us to inherit this. And that's what this is all about, because they have lost their stewardship. They've lost the power of the justification to stay in power. See, because they're out of time now. See, and they know this. And so that's why it's so important for us to love this word, love the bearer of the word, love the people that we are here to help. And so
excellent. Yes, sir.
love ourselves. That's the biggest issue. Loving ourselves. So yeah, but that's, one of these times maybe we can talk about all of the government machinations, because a lot of people don't know the kind of work that the government has put in. I just remembered the minister said, I got a 100-man FBI task force against me.
That's right.
Do you think it was just the FBI that was attacked? No, the IRS was involved. The CIA is involved. When your father writes in his book how he had to deal with a CIA agent because it was abroad, isn't it? The FBI over there. CIA is the international police. So, but they've made moves in every kind of way to bring down and to destroy the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Not one of them was successful. Not one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Beautiful. And excellent teaching. On that positive note, thank you everyone who's watching. This has been part 2. We have so much more. I want to put our brother Minister Preston on the spot. Inshallah, can we come back for part 3?
Yes, sir, by all means. Okay. I sent you that list. There's so many things to talk about. And I thank Allah for you, because it gives me the opportunity to, tell my story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As it relates to bearing witness, in the process of bearing witness, I'm telling my story.
That's right.
And everybody should tell their story.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line, because there's still a lot to talk about. Some of the works and some of the things that we did in Las Vegas, Nevada, and
yes, sir.
all
yes, sir.
things that's going on, man. So but if we give me that opportunity, praise be to Allah. I pray Allah will bless me to be here, and that we can be of sound mind and remember this word and remember the scenarios and the history accurately, and so that we can present it that way. And hopefully it will be something that will be of benefit to our people.
That's right. Yes, sir. All right. Well, yes, sir. Well, on that great note, Brother Minister, thank you again on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. We thank Allah for you and your many sacrifices and the sacrifices of your family as well. We salute you and we salute your family. Thank you, everyone who is watching. We feel the love from our brother. We want to make sure that we send positive energy and love to you. Thank you, everyone who's watching around the world. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, Brother Minister.
Thank you, sir.